Hello, welcome back to Lumps of Life. I am Jared Lumsden, and joining me today is executive contributor to Brainz Magazine and a podcast host of Adulting with Autism, April Ratchford. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, I am very excited to kind of pick your brain and go into the world of autism. So, I kind of read a lot about what you do and the why. So could you kind of go into, I guess, what kickstarted your journey into working with autism?
My kid. So,
Okay.
my son was born with spina bifida and hydrocephalus, but he didn't get his autism diagnosis until he was 10.
Okay.
I had to fight for that too. And along the way, when I started the podcast, I started it for him because he was having trouble like transitioning into the adult world, and there was
Okay.
nothing for young adults. And then I found out, oh, this sounds real familiar. Oh, I guess I'm autistic. Okay, great. That explains a lot.
Yeah. So what were the first kind of things that popped up for let's start with your world. What for you were the first couple things that popped up? Because to kind of reiterate a little bit, I've talked about it before, but for me, going through the journey I've been on, it just kind of started popping up in front of me where I was reading different articles, I was listening to different things, and it was like, oh, these are signs of autism in early adults, or this is what happens whenever autism isn't diagnosed into adulthood. And I started reading through them, and it was like, well, shit, I think I do like all of these, so that's interesting. And it just kind of led me into doing a bunch of research. And I've never been diagnosed. I've never like it was just kind of one of those where like, okay, duly noted, but I don't really understand it, I guess. So that was part of the reason I wanted to have you on and just kind of pick your brain through it. So what were kind of the first things for you that I guess made that trigger for you?
Um, Hyper focusing on certain things. Like
Okay.
I will go, or I go down rabbit holes, and then I know useless facts from 20 years ago. And my sister's like, why do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just know that.
It's interesting how stuff will just stick. Like I learned through this where I used to like overly obsess every conversation. So whoever I was having on, whatever I was doing, I would go through it 100 times in my head beforehand. And then I realized, oh, I just need to relax and let these things kind of come out the way they're supposed to. I have the knowledge. I've read these things. I don't need to go over the conversation 17 times in my head to make sure that I've covered every single angle and make sure that I'm not going to mess something up. And that was definitely a rough one for a while because then it would almost drain me where I would overanalyze it. So then I would finish a podcast, and most of my podcasts have been like a month or two apart because after I get done, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And it takes me a little bit to kind of re-energize.
So I used to do that with text. I would read the whole conversation and then I would analyze. And I'm like, well, what do they really mean? Are they sure they mean that? And my sister is like, what is wrong with you? It's just a text because she's autistic and ADHD. So,
Okay.
so her ADHD kicks in and is like, that's just a conversation. Drop it.
Yeah. So I guess what is the difference with that? Because that was something it told me too, was that I probably have a form of, I guess, is it called ADHD?
I call
Where,
them Audis like the cars.
okay, that makes total sense. So what are kind of the differences in that? Because that was what it told me, that it was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have a form of ADHD. And like the ADHD portion of it, when going through that, I was like, oh, for sure. This is absolutely a big portion of my brain. Like just the way that my diet operates. If I eat a bunch of sugar, if I'm eating a bunch of processed stuff, my brain will just shut down. Sometimes it'll make me angry. Sometimes it makes me emotional. It kind of varies. It's not always a like cookie cutter thing. It's like, why in the hell am I so mad right now? Like this. And it's like, oh yeah, I ate a cookie earlier. Now I'm losing my mind. But anyway, it's one of those that it's been an interesting thing to read about. What are kind of the differences in ADHD and autism?
So really the big difference, because they overlap so much, is the language. Because
Okay.
most people diagnosed with autism typically don't start speaking until 2.5, 3, or later. My youngest nephew was 5. So
Okay.
it's that language piece. And then, like, a lot of autistics, we like our solo time a lot. Our nervous systems can only handle so much input before we're exhausted. But let's go to ADHD. They can handle so much input. Like 47 tabs are open, and they're playing music, and they're reading a book, and then they have a movie playing, and I'm like, I need silence.
Y-
I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like I feel like for me, it goes back and forth. It sometimes I'm okay with the chaos, but then I have to go check out and go sit in the garage by myself, or I'll go out and build a fire and just sit outside by a fire and just kind of
Mhm.
check out, breathe. Nature's kind of like a happy place most of the time for me, where it helps calm that nervous system, because that was a lot of what I was doing and that I didn't realize I was doing in this journey was healing my nervous system. I had no idea that was the problem, where all of my emotions were very, very big emotions, and I didn't understand that was what was happening, where it was just overwhelming and I would lose it about little things, or I was bottling up a bunch of things, and then it was coming out in different ways, where I just learned really good how to mask myself. I learned how to lie to protect my mistakes. I just very quickly learned that I could just speak however I wanted to, and I could kind of like, and I'm sure hindsight, people knew I was lying, people knew that I was not being real, whatever it was. And that was a lot of what it was like I'd quit a job, and that like immediate release of that nervous system, that feeling of that lightness kind of took over, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize how heavy that was for me. So then anything that gave me that feeling, I've just aggressively started like looking at it. Okay, why is that triggering that feeling? What's going on here? And then it's kind of led me to this weird ability to like read people, which I did sales for a really long time, so that definitely helped. But it's a interesting thing where it's like I can almost feel what people are feeling too. Like there's been times where my kids have felt things and I'm like, hey, is everything okay? And they're like, nope. And they start explaining what's going on, or just little weird things like that pop up, that it's like, whoa, what was that? That was interesting. Why did I feel that? And then it kind of like plays out in real time that I was feeling what they were feeling, I guess, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah. So with a lot of people that have autism, ADHD, or it could be anybody, even neurotypicals, you can get next to somebody and feel their energy. Like they pick it up. Like kids are great at it.
Oh yeah.
But it's a thing. Like if you are the hyper person in the room and everybody else isn't, they're gonna know. It's just something about co-creating the environment. And a lot of people don't realize that's what it is. You're co-creating the environment. So when parents get frustrated with kids feel that. So kids lose their absolute minds and like, I'm gonna push all the buttons.
Yeah. It's interesting how much they mirror us, how much they feed off of things that we're doing internally, because I've noticed that too throughout this. The more self-aware I became doing this stuff, the more I started seeing these things in my kids or anyone else really, where I would be having the same conversations and I would see whatever it was kind of play out in front of me, where I'm like in the midst of the conversation, I'm like, this is what I was just doing. Like, this is me. I'm literally getting upset with myself right now because I'm in the midst of this. But it took me a really long time to start recognizing those, where it was like, oh, almost everything is me. If I can look at it that way, of it's on me, then I can I'm not pointing fingers and I'm trying to analyze myself of, hey, what am I doing incorrectly in this situation? Because ultimately I'm the only thing I can control is what I'm doing in my actions. So learning that and watching it play out in my kids, it's like, oh, they feel this energy. If I'm upset, like I remember as a kid feeling like one of my parents come home in a bad mood, and like you may not know that they're in a bad mood, but boy, you felt that the moment they walk in that room. You're like, whoa, dad's pissed today, or mom had a bad day. That's not good. And but I realized that too, of like, oh, they're feeling my internal battles. So I have to get this stuff under control, because it was kind of a nightmare there for a little bit where it was hard to differentiate what reality was. I would get kind of these gut feelings and would start kind of like tinkering with things, whether it be with myself, my relationships, whatever. And the more they kept playing out and being accurate, the more I started developing that, I guess, confidence in myself and trust in myself, where it was like, oh, I keep feeling these things and they keep kind of coming to light. This, I guess there is something to this, but boy, did it take me a long time of not trusting myself before I got that.
It's usually like that. Like if you've been masking for a really long time and you're finally learning to listen to yourself and your nervous system, it's like a light turns on. And you're like,
Absolutely.
"Ugh."
Yeah, it's like like your body's almost, the anxiety is almost like your body screaming at you that you're doing things incorrectly. Like the more that I was doing things that weren't the real authentic me, whether that be lying, doing a job that I didn't want to do, any of it, it gave me that internal like ick, I guess, where you just feel that anxiety. And I didn't understand that was what it was. I would be sitting at my desk at work and get this like spine tingly anxiety where I just had to like physically get up and go walk, or my brain was going to explode. But it was just because I hated it. I didn't want to be there or do it anymore. So my body was, I guess, screaming at me, telling me not to do it. But then I feel like that's kind of where my nervous system got out of whack. Was I was consistently not being myself. I was constantly lying about things. If I made a mistake, I wasn't accountable for it. And things just kind of got into shambles. But the more that I've kind of taken those opposite approaches and taking the steps to, when those moments pop up that you want to lie and you want to say whatever the easy thing is, to just be like, oh, yeah, it was this, I screwed up. And the more I do it, the more natural it becomes. And I feel like the more that anxiety and nervous system kind of heals for me, and it kind of coexists with everything. It seems to coexist with my diet. It seems to kind of coexist with everything in life, really. The what I'm consuming in the media, what I'm watching, what I'm thinking, how I'm speaking to myself, it all seems to kind of, I don't know, wrap up in the same world, where if one thing goes awry, my brain's kind of like, all right, we're going back down the rabbit hole into the darkness. And it's like, well, no, we're good. Everything's peaceful right now. I don't want to do that.
That's where you start talking to yourself, because I tell my kid when he has meltdowns, I'm like, either you're going to get clarification on what you need to do, or you're going to keep melting down.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
and
up to you.
I think for me, it was, I went through a spat with my wife where she got very, very scared of a lot of different things. And it was just easier to kind of lie about them and create this false reality. So where my gut was telling me these things were correct, I was being told it wasn't. And that was kind of happening in multiple aspects of life. So then it kind of created that push pull with my gut feeling of like, oh, is this one something I should be on alert about? Or is this one that I should be letting go? And it's taken a really long time and a lot of work to get myself out of that world, where that discernment gets a little better and I can kind of differentiate which ones are trying to fuck with me and which ones are kind of the reality, I guess, where it's like, okay, hey, there's no actual evidence of this. This is just a random thought that got triggered by some old wiring bullshit. Let's take a step here. Let's breathe before we lose our mind and start freaking out about something, that's because I can spiral for hours about it used to be days, so we have brought it back, but it used to be days of a spiral. And now I can usually get out of it pretty quickly. Sometimes it'll still consume me for a little bit, but it it becomes so real in my head where it's like, oh, all evidence points to this thing. This has to be correct logically. This, like, there cannot be any other answer for this. And it almost is always some sort of old trigger, old pattern, something that hits me where it feels and seems so real. And then six more things will click into place that make it seem even more real if I let it. If I don't let it and I catch the spiral quickly, I feel like I can almost stop it by, like you just said, talking to myself and going, hey, this isn't a real one. But it's always those pesky ones that hit with a second, third, and fourth piece of something that triggers it, where I'm like, uh-oh, all right, all of the alarms are going off and now I must lose my mind.
So a trick I learned was to name the voice. So my voice is Brenda.
Oh, okay.
So when you have those spinning thoughts, and everybody has them, it's just that we neurodivergents can spin on it forever. And then you start saying, I'll tell Brenda, thanks for your opinion, Brenda, but this is what we're going to do.
Oh, I love that.
Sweet, easy.
Yeah. Well, because then you're making it like something. You're calling it something. You're not just letting those negative spirals. Because that's been my whole approach to this, is trying to live life the most authentic way I can and just be positive. I was negative for so long. Just everything consumed me, and then I'm tired of it. I was tired of being down. I was tired of being sad. I was tired of feeling like I wasn't good enough. And it just got to a point where I'm like, hey, you got to stop like sitting in your head waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to do something. Wait, just do it. Like, you don't have to sit back. But it was like everything in my brain and body were constantly telling me that was it. I'm not good enough. Nobody wants to listen to this. No. So I would just sit back and let it eat me alive. And it was kind of one of those like, okay, we got to take control of this and figure out what this is and how this keeps, I don't know, almost like taking control when it spirals. So I like being able to like name it and like, all right, listen here, you motherfucker, get out of here. We're not doing this one today. Because once you find that feeling of that peace, where I used to always call it a 12-lane highway. I said it was almost like those 12-lane highways where everybody's going different speeds, different directions. Some people are reading text, some people are paying attention, other people are driving way too slow. I was like, that's my brain. That's the thoughts constantly. And getting to a spot where I can just and find that peace where the thoughts aren't racing, where that like consistent happiness is there, rather than that doom spiral that starts to creep in, where it's like, why why now?
I'll tell you, it's locked in your subconscious. And
okay.
So it's all that programming you heard as a kid. All the stuff that you heard as a kid gets locked in there. And until you acknowledge and then challenge it, it'll pop up. Like Brenda would be like, oh, girl, you're not good enough. And I'm like, girl, what we're going to do is over here. But I admire your thoughts. Thank you. And you move on.
Yeah. And that's such a good way to just make it a quick thing. What's a good tip? Is it just consistency, like catching it over and over again, and essentially you rewire your brain into that like ability to just naturally do that?
Yes. And you have to realize the brain doesn't like change.
And it fights against it.
Yeah. It's trying to keep you safe because they think we're still fighting saber-tooth tigers.
Yeah.
You gotta love your brain and be like, well, great, there's no saber-tooth tiger. We need to just chill this out. But it's constant repetition until you can catch it. And then you'll catch it really fast and just go on.
And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now, is where I can catch it. And for the most part, I feel like I have like a 90% success rate going currently. Before it was 50-50. Sometimes we would be good, I'd catch it. Other times it could be a multi-day spiral where my brain's like, no, 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 this is real. I promise you. You need to listen and we need to be on red alert at all times. And I'm like, yep, got it. We're in. Let's do this. But I've learned not to do that and to like, okay, you can't control it. Even if this is real, there's no evidence to prove it. If there is something that needs to be shown to you, it will just happen. You don't need to control it. Just relax and control yourself. Whatever happens will happen, and kind of developing that mindset of everything is happening for you, not to you. It was a big portion of it because it really helped me. Like anytime those spirals came, of being able to, I guess, pull the lesson out of it. Because a lot of times when I would hit spirals, it was mostly things that I was doing incorrectly. And I would start seeing them. Sometimes I saw them quicker than others. Sometimes I would repeat the cycle what felt like 100 times. I'm like, why is this happening over and over and over again? It's like, hey, dum dum, it's you are doing this. We gotta back off here, and we gotta realize that we're falling into these patterns and loops again. And it, even being cognizant of it, I would still, like, something would come in and make it feel so real in my head, or it would trigger some old thing from the past with something. And I guess recognizing which ones they were, of going like, oh, this is something that's a generational cycle from this. This is a generational cycle from this. Oh, this is from our childhood when I went and did this. This is why I feel that way. And it was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that happen through life that your brain just latches onto. And the more we spoke about them, the more it released off my brain, and it did not hold that same weight or power. So that trigger didn't hit as hard. So then anytime it's come up since, that's just how I always handle it. I just speak about it. I'll talk about it. I'll write about it, whatever it is that needs to come out. And then almost always throughout my usual incoherent ramblings about it, something will hit where I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing. That's the part that I'm screwing up. I need to fix that part. And being able to kind of deep dive into each one of them has taken that power it had over me a lot. Like, some of them still weigh, because I think there's some of them that just kind of are really deep seated in there. But it seems like the more that I speak on them and the more that I normalize it, almost naming them in the same way, I guess, but making it normal, and it kind of took away that fear in a sense.
You can always use the question, is it true?
Okay.
So when you're having those dark thoughts, say, is it true? And if you can't find a reason, then it's not true. And then figure out, where is that coming from? Where did you learn that thought? And most of the time, it's something we grew up with, because it's something somebody else told us versus us talking to ourselves.
Oh, so then they kind of stick even harder in those senses, and then you kind of hold on to that. Is that where the, like, people pleasing and validation kind of sticks with you over time, where you kind of hear those things and you have that, like, want to, I guess, I don't know, kind of like fold to everything and everyone in order to not make people upset or angry? And it's kind of been the same way. The more that I pull back my energy, because I felt like I was burning myself out with everything. I was trying to do everything in every realm that I could to try to figure things out. And the more that I pulled back and started putting energy into myself and making sure that I was taking care of my health, my mental health, my family, my life, the more things tended to go in a positive direction. And I was able to kind of regain that energy to have that for my wife, for my kids, and not spread myself so thin that there were just problems everywhere. So it was almost like the more that I brought myself back to that, rather than constantly needing to do everything for everyone every time something popped up, the more it was like, oh, okay. Like, and I know that it sounds so selfish, but it genuinely started to, I get, like, I always heard things about like filling your own cup first because you can't pour from an empty cup. And it was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because I constantly feel drained. And then I'm annoyed with my kids about dumb things, or I'm not giving the same attention or energy to my wife because I'm more focused on this silly thing that I'm doing. And it seemed to always end in a negative direction. The more that I put the good energy into my life and myself, and then in turn into my wife and kids, the more peace I keep seeming to find.
So, um, if your nervous system was telling you something, because you
Hmm.
have fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So everybody knows fight and flight. Freeze is where you completely withdraw and you cannot get your thoughts out because you're just frozen. Fawn is where people pleasing is in because
Okay.
you're so worried about where everybody else is and who likes you, who doesn't. It's just your nervous system's out of whack and you just need to calm it down.
Yeah. Yeah. I had no idea that was even a thing until the more I've started doing research on this and kind of trying to learn what I've been doing, because it was for all the wrong reasons at the beginning of what I've been doing. But then it's turned into this, like, I don't know, almost like attempting to devote my life to figuring out life, where it's like, I just want to figure out how to make this work and it be peaceful and it not be this constant over exhaustion, this overthinking everything, and anything that causes it. It's like, ooh, okay, what are you? Why are you here? And why are you making me feel this way? And every time I do it, I come out on the back end with a completely different mindset. It feels like, where it heals a little bit further, where every time I put myself through these hard things, instead of running from them, that was a lot of it too. Rather than running from my emotions, running from problems and not dealing with things, I'm just bluntly honest and I just deal with things as they pop up, whether it's something I'm doing or something someone else. It's like, hey, this is really affecting how my life is going. So can we figure this out? And if it doesn't get figured out, then I just kind of move forward from it. And I do that with everything, because it's become such an important part of that, where it's like, oh, I hate those spirals. I hate feeling that way. How can I dial this back and make it not an everyday thing? And luckily, a lot of what I do in the gym, with my diet, with these things, I know a lot of it's with the ADHD. It seems like that seems to be the driving force of most of the way my brain works. But um back to with like the autism, how does this start in kids? Like, where does it kind of click in for children?
So for kids, nobody knows where it comes from. It just
Okay.
we're still on the fence. Is it genetic? Well, in my family, we know it's genetic. Is it genetics? Is it the food? Is it chemicals? Everybody's like, is it in um, vaccines? And I'm like, well, I mean, we get vaccines so close together, but there have been kids that have not been vaccinated and end up with autism.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And it's just one of those things that pop. They used to think, oh, is it like parents in their 30s? I was 26 when I had my son, so that's not it. So we don't really know, but we know it's a neurological thing. So it's really figuring out that the brain is kind of different. And they've done MRIs that show if you have autism, your brain does not function like a neurotypical brain. Different areas light up versus
Oh.
a neurotypical brain. So um, we teach kids how to navigate their nervous systems, how to understand what they can and can't do in society because they don't pick up social cues easy. My
Hmm.
son still doesn't. And I'm like, well, it's all right. Just tell people what you think and you'll be fine. But it's just really teaching kids and their parents how to navigate sensory issues,
Hmm.
nervous system issues. Um, if they have difficulty learning, sometimes it's not because they can't learn it. It's because they're so smart, they're bored. So you
Yeah.
have to give
Yeah.
them what to do. Because my kid, smart as what, can was one of those kids that memorized all the volcanoes in the last time they erupted when he was like 5.
Oh, that's amazing.
It
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 it's really
is
like a superpower. Like it really is. That's why it's so interesting to me because any child I've ever been around that has autism, it's like, oh, I think it's not. I think it's just a different from the quote unquote normal, but I think everyone's unique. I think everyone's put here for a purpose and everyone's unique. It's just not normal to be unique. It's normal to follow the herd and to kind of follow the narrative and do these things. So when you have a kid that doesn't like sports or doesn't follow these normal, typical things, it's like, oh, is there something wrong? Is there, well, no, they just may like music and art and these things differently. But it's that kind of like tunnel vision mindset of like how we all should be. But I think that's where most of these things are. Like you look at the way public school and the way things are taught, it's
right.
they've kind of all just done the same thing for decade after decade. They don't teach people how to have relationships, how to speak to each other, what these traumas do to your brains, because the more we walked through our baggage, the more we realize like these little silly things that may not even be relevant in your brain are the reason you do these little things. Or like somebody told you one time that you sounded weird when you sing when you were in middle school, and now you're afraid to sing in front of people, all because of that one moment, and you don't even remember that that happened, but that pops up in your head anytime you go to do karaoke or like whatever the case may be. These little things stick to your brain and make you think that that's how everyone feels about you, or that's how it is. And it's like, oh, that was just one person's opinion that could have been correct, could have been jealous, could have been whatever. And but that thing stuck with you because you put so much weight, I guess, on other humans and their opinions of you. And it's almost like it's human nature with the trauma and pain of life. And I don't think anyone gets out unscathed, but you see that, like, I don't know, does that tend to cause more, like if you see more like trauma as a kid, maybe?
So if you a lot of people don't understand neurodivergence, that trauma sticks and does not go away. Like it can be bullying, it could be name calling, it can be somebody didn't like the way you dressed. That all builds and that doesn't go away. And that makes you who you are as an adult with your quirks and your
Yeah.
like idiosyncrasies and your insecurities. It builds, and until you figure out those little traumas, because trauma is not always the big scary stuff. It's like normal everyday interactions. Oh, you'll never learn money. Oh, you'll never do this. That sticks. But we don't
Yeah.
know why it sticks. And that's because we haven't dealt with it and it's stuck in our subconscious and we got to kind of work through that.
And are there also people that don't feel that too? Like there are a lot of people that don't have that like empath feeling almost at all. Like I know that kind of leans into like the narcissism more than, but like it's kind of like the opposite end of the approach is kind of that where you don't feel anything. But I feel like for me, I feel everything from everyone to almost a detrimental extent where like I'll see the patterns and weird things and I'm like, oh, this is what happened. And I can like walk through exactly what happened. And 9 times out of 10, I've learned that I am spot on. And I just read these little micro expressions. I'll read, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I read into things, and that's when those spirals tend to take off. But a lot of times I just see a couple different pieces of it, and it's like, oh, okay, I see the pattern there. This is kind of what's happening. But then like that's also a detriment, I feel like, because I'll see that, oh, I think this person's saying bad things about me, or and I've been right at times, but it's still it's like that, oh, I don't even need to give this energy because this is that same thing that goes against me protecting my peace, giving any of this negativity. It's kind of that let them theory type thing. But it's so interesting how much our brains can absorb, how much our brains latch on to things. And I think even the way you speak to yourself is so much of the way you speak just in general. Like, I think our words are very, very powerful. And if you constantly are saying, I can't do things the same way you were saying, if someone's telling you, hey, you won't do this, or you're not good enough to do this, if you're constantly telling yourself, I can't, then you won't. You'll constantly stay in that state of belief too, because I learned that as well. Like, just being, I don't know, appreciative of yourself and having that self-love is also very important, because you can do the same thing to yourself that other people are doing.
It's just I like to tell a lot of people, and it's hard because when you grow up, it's human nature to want to be part of a group. That's just human nature. But you are not responsible for somebody else's reactions or feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That's not your responsibility. If they don't like what you say, so it's not your responsibility to navigate in their reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught my son that when he was very young, because a lot of people would be like, he's just not empathetic. I was like, that's not it. He has a flat affect, and you just don't bother him with the things you say to him, because he's not going to react to that. He's going to say what he thinks, and then, I mean, you asked, so he's going to say it.
Yep.
That's how it is.
And I think that's important, though, like that blunt honesty. But there's so much of society that walks around that pretends that there is no problems, that they live this perfect cookie cutter life. They don't ever fight. They've never had financial problems. They've never had down days. Then that's not real. That's not human. Everyone deals with these things. Everyone has those problems in life. And I'm very convinced the more that I speak on these things, the better I feel, the more honest I am with my kids. There's been so many times that I've been asked by my kids something, and I'm like, oh, that's a weird one, I don't want to. And then you just kind of make up something or whatever and then the older they've got, it's like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I hate being lied to. That's like one of my biggest things, is I feel like I have a human lie detector, and when people lie to me, it's that like, oh, that's gross. Like, because I don't have anything to hide, so I just speak. And it's that same thing. Like, if I know that I'm being authentic and I'm being true and I'm not speaking in a way to hurt anyone, I'm just being honest, then if that hurts your feelings, or if that's something that's probably reflecting on you way more than it's reflecting on me, it's more saying that there's something going on, that this is why you're lashing out, this is why you're doing this. And it's very hard sometimes to, like, I've had to learn to just back that off, because I used to try to like, oh, hey, this is what, like just see the patterns, and I hear these things and I'm like, oh, this is what you're doing wrong, you can fix this, like, this is what I did. And it, like, I had to realize, like, oh, hey, we gotta back that off. Like, not everyone wants that advice. Not everyone wants to be told that, hey, this is the thing that, it's like, oh, I didn't realize that was like kind of soul punching at times.
It can be. I always, my son always, when somebody asks, they're like, I need you to be honest with me. And my son looks at them, he's like, do you want honesty, or do you really want me to lie to you?
Yeah.
So it's like, pick the one, because I'll tell you, or I'll lie to you.
Yeah, and some people kind of need that. Some people need protected. That's what I told you whenever we first got on here, that I always like to have a quick little thing before I start, because I like to just go completely natural, meet people as I meet them, and I don't like it to be this, but I also want to give a heads up of like, hey, I'm just going to talk. This is just like, we're just going to talk like two people sitting, just shooting the shit about life, and I'm not going to edit it. We're just going to have some fun and see how it goes. There's no bullet points. There's no, like, this is just who I am and what we're doing. So let's just have some fun and have a conversation, because I feel like, I don't know, there's so much of this world that's just, it's all fake. Everything is manufactured, it's produced, and you see it and all, and I hate it. It gives me that same like we were watching one of, I forget, some stupid reality Netflix dating show thing, and they were giving these like heartfelt speeches at the end of it, and they're like looking them in the eye and they're saying what they're saying, and they're going, and then they come back and read the rest of this, and it's like, oh, this is so produced and fake. Like, nobody speaks this way. This isn't, and like you just see it across most things, and it's so refreshing when I watch one that it's like, oh, look, they actually let them just be themselves and talk and have a good time and learn some things. And that's, I don't know, I crave that. I crave that human interaction that's just raw and real, and you just get to have a cool conversation with someone, learn about them, learn about what they do. And obviously you've really dove into this world, and it's such an interesting thing that, like, obviously there's a ton of information out there about it, but it was something that I had no clue what it was. Like, I've heard of autism, but going into the weeds of it and understanding what it is, how it affects, like I kind of had that same thing of, oh, it's just this thing that, like, people are a little different or whatever it is. And then the more I read about it, the more I kept like, oh, I feel seen. This might be a part of the equation. And going through it and reading these things was like, oh, this is so interesting. I want to go further into the weeds with this, and I guess understand it and understand. But obviously there's a lot to understand, and it's very elusive, apparently.
It is because the research is mostly kids. There's never been research on autistic adults.
Oh,
No grants. There's only been one this year for autistic adults, and that was granted by the Trump administration. Prior to that, everybody else who asked for it got denied their grants for research. So there really isn't any research on what happens to autistic adults. Then what
that's so
they get
that's
dementia.
yeah, that's fascinating. And I wonder too, how much do you see with your son or with you, with like just things you operate with day to day, whether it be social media, food, any of those types of things? What do you see on like a day-to-day basis with any of those things that trigger you?
Let's see. My son's easier because he gets triggered by so many things.
Okay.
He hates. I'm sorry, people. He hates stupid people. He hates when there's no clarity. It sets him off.
Oh, yep, I feel that.
He's like, I don't understand why my professor can't get this straight. He hates it if you don't know tech. So if y'all are not tech savvy, my son is not for you, because he goes to school and a lot of their stuff is online stuff. Well, a lot of the professors are in their 60s, so they're not real tech savvy. And my son is like, why?
I'm gonna explode.
I was like, please don't throw a punch at teacher. What do you want him to do? So it's just these everyday quirks. Like some days you may be like, I really don't like this human being I'm sitting next to, but I got to work with them. Can I deal with that today? No, I think I'm going to leave work.
Yeah. And I think that's important to be able to do that too, because it's a real yeah, there's just some days, like, because I wake up like that. There's days where I just do not want to deal with people. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I wake up and my brain's in a funky mood or something's triggered it, and it's weird. And it was like, oh, why do I? Because I legitimately thought it was my diet. For the longest time, I have like aggressively been in the gym and working on my diet because I was convinced that it was just the food that I was putting in my body, that this is what's causing this is what's causing my brain to operate this way. but then reading the stuff about autism and ADHD, I'm like, oh, maybe I need to like calm down a little bit with my diet and going to the gym 7 days a week and basically killing my body every day. Like we gotta dial it back a little bit. I kind of went from one obsession to the other and really just locked in on that because I was positive that that was what it was. And then I started having bad days on days that I was eating really, really good. And I'm like, okay, well, duly noted that that must not be a consistent thing for this because I'm still having this. And I ate like a robot yesterday. I ate as clean as I can eat. I worked out. I drank more than enough water. I took my vitamins. We did everything correct. And I still woke up and I hate the world today and want nothing to do with anything. And it, for the longest time, I was very convinced that it was that. But then I realized it was me endlessly scrolling on Twitter, me getting on Facebook, me getting on, and it, oh man, Twitter, you just see so many negative things. You see so many, and it, inevitably one of them would get me and it would start pulling that mood down. And then I would get on there again. And I didn't realize how addicted I was to all of it, where I'm just wasting time endlessly scrolling. And I just had to deactivate all of it. I'm like, okay, we just have to do what we've done with everything else. And I can't be trusted with this. I'm just going to keep scrolling and doing what I'm doing. So let's just cut the temptation, delete the apps from the phone. I have to like physically go get my computer to get on something. Some of them I just fully deactivated, but the rest of them, if I need them, I can go get on them, but I have to like actually go get my computer out and get on it. I can't just sit on my phone and aimlessly scroll through Twitter and pretend like I'm doing research and looking for things. And in reality, I'm watching a bunch of abysmal wildness that is mostly AI and not real. So that was so much of it where social media, I feel like, was, and food were two of, if not the hardest addictions that I've had. And just legitimately getting them away from me was the only way that I've been able to like stay completely off of them. And I haven't been on any of them for, I think it's been 2-3 weeks now that I've just completely cut myself off of them. And I feel so much better, the lightness, the peace. And it was like, oh, I can't believe how just scrolling through that stuff makes your brain feel worse, makes you feel negative, and you're like almost taking on that energy, and it's usually just the worst of the worst.
It's they're designed to do that to keep you addicted. Because my son, he loves Twitter, and I'm like, why are you on here? Because he was like, for whatever reason, we were on an Elon Musk kick, and I was like,
trying to solve the world's problems, because that's what I was doing.
He was like, oh, this Elon is just, I was like, I need you to get off that, please. This is not doing you any good. Get off Twitter.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube. Watch a video.
It does make you legitimately angry. Like you start seeing the patterns in that stuff too, where it's like, oh, this is just the same thing. It's a dopamine hit. They get you hooked on it, and it was a dangling carrot. You see these things with, whether it be the Epstein files or UFOs or any of it, they just kept pumping it out over and over and over again. And then some other wild event would happen and it would all get squashed, and it just, nothing ever happened. And I just kept watching the loop and the pattern over and over again, to the point where I was getting mad. And I'm like, why are they not arresting people? Why is this not? And finally I'm like, hey, you can't do anything. You're not going to go arrest them. You're not going to solve the case. There are more than enough people trying to figure this out. You do not need to be sitting at home worried about it, trying to figure it out. You're just wasting time. But it like, I could see it, and it was like making my blood boil. It's like, they're all pedophiles. I'm sick of this. I would like to solve the problem, please. And it was like it. And then I realized how many of these videos are AI. Some of it is real for sure, but they do such a good job of flooding it with so many things that it's so hard to differentiate, to figure it out. And it was like, oh, I can't keep exhausting my brain trying to figure out what's going on in the world. And weirdly enough, since I've been off of it, nothing's happened. My day-to-day life has just gotten drastically better. I can go outside and the world is not ending every day. It's crazy how that genuinely affected my happiness.
What it's designed to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with autism, like obviously with dealing with this for most of like your adult life, where for you, where have you seen those spots that made you go, "Oh, okay, this is probably me too."
Um, well, when I'm at work, I spin a lot in chairs.
Okay.
So that's where I can get my stemming and my input. And then other times I just look at people. Like I don't have a poker face. I'm so upset that we don't wear masks anymore because
Mhm.
my poker face is gone. Because I'll just look at you like you're stupid. And I'm like,
Yeah,
it's,
some
I'm
people need that though.
like my sister will be like, fix your face. I was like, oh, okay.
It, and that's what too, like it's so interesting how they're just little things, like they're just not being able to sit still, not being able to like I guess almost sit in quiet was a problem for me. Like, and I think that was more the demons than anything, because that was when the negative thoughts would start. The more I sat in silence, the more I wanted to run to my phone, the more I wanted to run to the food, the more I wanted. It was just me looking for any dopamine hit to not have to face reality, is what it felt like. So then the more I faced reality and handled my things and started going through them, it really did just genuinely let that weight off of my shoulders. And then I became almost obsessed with it in the same way I did with the gym, where it was like my mental and soul gym, where I felt like I started reading a lot about the Bible, which I really had never had a relationship with. I had never even like thought about it. But the more I started reading different chunks of it, and it was Twitter that got me started on it too, because I would see people post different passages from the Bible, scriptures. Again, that's how new this is to me. I really don't even know what like the terminology is of a lot of this stuff, but it became so fascinating because they were hitting in like real things in life that were clicking together and making me like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then I kept putting things into play and it kept making everything a little bit easier. I kept trying to heal from different things. I kept cutting out any of the things that fell into that seven deadly sins. So whether it be greed or lust or any of them, I realized how many of our day-to-day things led you to that. And it was like, oh, this is why I feel this way. And every time I cut one out, it releases another blockage, I guess, or feeling like that, where again, just the more I talk openly and honestly, whether it be on here, to my wife, to other people, it like takes away that bite, I guess, of those spirals where for whatever reason it continues to make it less and less powerful over my head.
It's just figuring out the process. Like, because talking to you, when you talk about subjects, I'm like, oh, that's his autism side. Okay, that's his ADHD side. Okay, I can
Ooh,
see how this goes both ways. All right.
yeah. Okay, so I want to ask about that. So what have you heard in this conversation that is kind of like, because I again, like this is all incredibly new to me. I have never been like diagnosed with any of this stuff, but this is how I am all the time. Whether I'm on a podcast, whether I'm talking to my wife, this is pretty much this is the version of me that I am all the time. So I'm very interested, like what has kind of clicked.
So when your ADHD is that energy you have and you talk really fast and you talk rich, and then you're like, my diet and the Bible, I was like, oh, that's autism. We're just in hyper focus mode, and that is where we're going. It is rigid diet. I was like, oh, gym 7 days a week. Oh, that's his hyper focus going on. So
That's so fascinating because I do feel like I've learned how to utilize these things for my better good, I guess, to an extent. There's some of them that I do not have control over, and I can like they just again, the way I speak and the quickness. I get very excited, especially when I'm passionate about topics. I have like, I don't talk to a lot of people. So then when I do get in these conversations, I get very excited because it's like, oh, it's somebody who understands. It's somebody who understands the way like I think or the way that these things operate. And it's fascinating to me. So then I catch myself mid conversation sometimes where I'm like, slow down. We are going too fast. But I used to get crazy nervous. Like before every podcast, it would be, I mean, I think there was one that I started at like 11 a.m. And whenever I started talking to her, I was already at like 8,000 steps for the day because I was getting like so overwhelmed thinking about the conversation because the topic was going to be suicide. And I was getting so overwhelmed thinking about it that I just kept having to go walk because that anxiety would bubble up, like to the point where I'm like, am I doing the right thing? Like, should I be doing podcasts? Because I feel like I like doing them but why am I so nervous?
It's just your wiring, because when you see a podcast, you see the lights and the guests and everything is so produced, and we forget that that's production. When we host our podcast, we're like, here's my mic, we're going. So that's what tends to happen. We start to compare ourselves. Like for a long time, I would compare myself to Mel Robbins. I don't know why,
Okay.
but that's the thing. And somebody was like, do you know most podcasters in 2 years do not produce 300 plus episodes? I was like, oh, okay, everybody did that. They're like,
yeah,
no. So, and then we start to compare ourselves. Like, I would be like, I don't understand why she's got so many. I don't understand why is this, why? Until like, I just finally was like, okay, this is my podcast. This is who I am. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Oh, that's so fascinating. I literally just had that conversation in my head earlier today because I started feeling that same thing where I felt great all day today. Like it's been an awesome day. And then it got to be like 2 hours before this. And I started like looking at the clock. I started like over like, okay, how much time do I have until I need to make sure I got everything set up? And it was like, hey, calm down. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be you. You're going to go have a conversation with somebody and you're just going to go have fun. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be this overly thought out thing. Just go have a good time, have a conversation with somebody and it'll be fine. And I just literally had that conversation with myself earlier of like, hey, you're going to just put it out. People are going to watch it if they want to watch it. If they don't, they don't. You're not Joe Rogan yet. Just keep doing what you're doing and stop comparing yourself to these people. And yep, know exactly what you mean, because that has been a consistent thing. Actually, I did a podcast before and then took a step back from it and really had to like put myself back together. It took me a little bit to get the confidence up to be able to do things by myself, to think that anyone cared about what I was talking about, to have that like self-assurance that, hey, you've done a lot of work on yourself, losing the weight, flipping the mindset, doing everything you're doing. Like you can be proud of yourself and you can put these out. But there were a lot of times that I couldn't, like doing a podcast seemed so far out of the realm of possibility. So I started doing TikToks. And those helped me kind of break out of them. And it was like giving me that ability to like break myself out of these darker moments or these moments of self-doubt and get myself back out there by, even if it was just that piece of the puzzle of like, okay, I did one. Like I had a cool thought come out and I was able to go out there and record it without like completely losing my mind and feeling like an idiot or deleting it or freaking out and losing it. And that was just like, it just became that outlet at the beginning to work my way through it until I got to that point where I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready. I think I can do it. And those were like that stepping stone for me of, hey, do it a couple minutes at a time, do it a minute, 30 seconds, whatever the thought is, just put it out. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you feel it, put it out. And that helped me kind of break that initial barrier of getting myself out of that mold and getting myself to be able to do these again, and now consistently doing them. Now this is the first time since I've been back doing it that I have a full month scheduled out, and it's like, oh look, okay, now I just have to keep up with this. Let's just keep sending out invites, let's keep finding people, and let's not let this fall off the table, because I would let the results hit me very hard for a while also, where I would just, if it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go, or a certain thing, that was another reason I had to get off of social media, because it would just overtake my brain, and that self-doubt would just hammer me, and my energy would be gone for like multiple days where I couldn't function at all.
That's what you have to do. Like, social media is nothing but an illusion. And most of the time, I get on there, post what I need to post, and drop back off.
Yep, post and ghost. That is like the best thing that I ever heard Joe Rogan say, was that he posts and ghosts, and if he posts something, he does not look at the results, because it's usually psychopathic things, and just back off. And I had to kind of same thing, just develop that everything happens for a reason. Just do it because I want to do it, and the people that'll find it will find it, the people that won't, and it does not matter beyond that. As long as I'm doing what I want to do and I'm being authentic and being myself, then that, to me, that's something I can be proud of and makes me feel good. So
that's all you need.
Well, we have hit the hour mark, so I want to be very respectful of your time. I appreciate you so much for sitting down and having an awesome conversation with me about autism. Please, before I let you go, promote anything and everything where people can find you.
So I am on all platforms that you listen to podcasts, Adulting with Autism. I have a website, adultingwithautism.com. I do episodes 3 times a week. And if you go to my website, I do have a merch shop. So if you would like to support, please do.
Well, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me and giving your time. And we will be back next time. Bye.